you come in, and thank you for choosing to watch Let's Talk About It Media 21. Thanks for tuning into the channel. I appreciate you guys. I know you've been like, where's she been? What's going on? I did a quick live yesterday, but it wasn't long, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people, um, the 6 week of covering the trial hasn't been easy, but we did the doggone thing. A lot of us did the doggone thing. We've been talking about what the news is covering. We've been talking about what the transcripts is covering. A lot of the people in the courthouse took notes, and a lot of people did a great job. So we're going to cover what's been talked about, what the possibility of what people are speaking in regards to how much time could he get. So allow me a minute to get into my system. Do my disclaimer. It's important to give proper information, period. And not to falsify anything, period. Not for clickbait. It's important to give you guys proper information and what we're hearing from the news, from lawyers, different things like that. People can give their opinion, but if it's false information, that's not good. He has a family, so nobody wants false information put out about their family member, period. So let's get into the disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Let me get into and see. I already know what I want to pull up, but let me see if Inner City Press had anything to say over the last few days. So it's going to take people a few minutes to come in, but that's fine. That's fine. This was about 2 hours ago, so we're going to get into that. And then there's another clip that I need to show. So just a lot has been going on, and it's important just to give you guys the proper information. So we're going to get into that of what's being talked about. Hold on one second. Yeah, it's going to take people a minute to come in. And there's a lot of people live, but I had to go live right now because I have too much to do later on today. And I don't know if I'm going to feel like going live later or if I'll be able to go live. Once I'm out and about with fam, I don't really try and come back and...
The Gomes just keeps on going. We'll get to said... Okay, here we are. Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Friday, July 11th, 2025. Now, the Gomes just keeps on going. We'll get to sentencing. There's a lot of discussion about that. We get a lot of questions. But there's the civil cases as well. One we've been covering closely. Grayson versus Combs. It was coming up to an actual, initial pretrial conference, but now Judge Vargas has ruled that by July 22nd, either there must be an answer to the motion to opposition to the motion to dismiss or an amended complaint. Probably there'll be an amended complaint. That's often how these things go. Someone makes a complaint, there's a motion to dismiss, they file as of right an amendment to clean it up. So we're following that one here in SDNY, but there's also one out in the Northern District of California, which we live tweeted yesterday. It was kind of a side issue. It's a case against Combs and a number of others. It actually names Odell Beckham Jr., but it names Drewski. Yes, Drewski. So Drewski has moved for sanctions against Ms. Parham's lawyer, who zoomed in to the conference and said it was offensive, this motion for sanctions. Now Drewski has presented some credit card and phone information that he was in Georgia at the time of the alleged assault. Parham's lawyer said, phones can be different where the person is, credit card.
Okay, let me go back because it seems as if he's talking a few different topics. Hold on one second.
Who I saw in the lobby about an hour and a half before the proceeding was supposed to begin. They were asking to expedite it, but then they put it in... Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse, today, Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. Now, yesterday, in the criminal case, U.S. versus Sean Combs, there was some talk of expediting the sentencing. In fact, there was a letter put in by Mark Agnifilo, who I saw in the lobby about an hour and a half before the proceeding was supposed to begin. They were asking to expedite it, but then they put in a second letter just before the 2 p.m. proceeding, saying that both sides agreed that it will remain October 3rd. So the proceeding was very short. Basically said thanks. So we live tweeted it. A total of 2 tweets, by the way, compared to the hundreds on previous days. However, the key date that I saw in the schedule is that by July 11th, which is Friday, the government is supposed to put in its presentation on offense conduct, which is basically relevant conduct, which is this concept that conduct beyond the Two-Man Act charges could be considered at sentencing. That's the government's argument. Now, there's a Supreme Court case that may be to the contrary, and there's also just the basic fairness question of if the jury said not guilty, can that conduct come into sentencing? But there's other conduct around. So we'll have to see. And the biggest question I have is whether the government's finding will be put in the docket. They basically have been not putting a lot of things in the docket in this case, so we'll just have to see. Now, we also
and I wonder why is that? I wonder why they're not putting everything in the docket. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Supreme Court case that may be to the contrary, and there's also just the basic fairness question of if the jury said not guilty, can that conduct come into sentencing? But there's other conduct around. So we'll have to see. And the biggest question I have is whether the government's finding will be put in the docket. They basically have been not putting a lot of things in the docket in this case, so we'll just have to see. Now, we also cover the civil cases of Sean Combs. One that we wrote up late yesterday, or you may see it today. It was John Doe versus Sean Combs. A guy worked for Royal Reigns, and he says that at a party in 2021, he had a drink, he felt confused and drugged.
Allegedly.
Saw Sean Combs on top of him, and has
allegedly
had trauma ever since. Judge Etkin ruled yesterday that he has to give his name in 7 days or the case is dismissed. That's what's happening in the civil cases. It didn't happen in a criminal case. It remains that Mia and James remain nameless, even though many people knew who they were. We suffered some threats on that front, although we comply with all the rules. That's it. Let me go on, because of course there are other things here. First, on the quasi-hip-hop beat.
Like the videos, you guys. Come in. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Please don't forget to subscribe. Let me go into more content in regards to what's being talked about. Has it hit 9 minutes? No. Let me go into more information in regards to what's being talked about regarding him. Okay, it hasn't hit 9 minutes. Sometimes you got to be careful of certain terminology and words. So hold on one second. But like the videos, you guys come in. I just doing an update on what's going on. I try and go live as much as I can. Of course, I'm going to start covering other topics, but just to keep you guys updated so you're not getting misinformation. That's basically why we're giving you the information. But like the videos, you guys come in. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into this.
Spend the next decade or two behind bars. Welcome, decade. Right, Florida. There'll be a $1 million bond. Big. Could Diddy dressed? He was denied bail at every turn, and you would be right. He was. Despite proposing extensive bail conditions during the course of this legal saga, including a $50 million bail package and monitoring by private security personnel, the court was not convinced.
Let me see.
Now, by law, the defense has the burden to prove that Combs is not a flight risk or danger to the community. And given the charges, the allegations, including that he was improperly trying to contact people in the case pre-trial, he was always denied release. But then there's what happened after the verdict last week.
Yeah, I'll keep that up.
Interesting conversation. And again, we're going to be speaking with Ira Jettleson in a minute, who's been working with Diddy's team on possibly getting him released. But after the verdict, the defense applied for Combs to be released from detention pending sentencing. But that request was again denied by Judge Arun Subramanian. The defense argued, look, he's no longer charged with RICO, there's no longer presumption of detention, we have his passport, there's no access to private planes, there's no criminal history, this is his first conviction, he would be a fool to mess any of this up because he was just given his life back by the jury, he wasn't convicted of the highest charges, he was facing up to life in prison, now he's not. He should be allowed to return to his property, his mansion in Florida, there'll be a $1 million bond. Now the government argued, look, Sean Combs, he was convicted of serious charges, Mann Act violations. There was physical abuse in this case. There was prolific use and distribution of drugs. He committed crimes while under investigation, including having drugs in his hotel room when he planned to surrender to federal authorities back in September of 2024.
Yeah.
And Judge Arun Subramanian denied the bail application, sided with the government that these convictions on these charges, by law, they trigger the mandatory detention statute, that the defense conceded Combs is violent. They conceded that at trial. Quote, we own the domestic violence. That's what the defense had said. The judge also made the point that it was impossible for the defense to demonstrate that he poses no danger, particularly given his violence after the searches of his properties and when he knew he was under investigation. That's the whole Violent Jane episode, attacking Jane, one of the victims in this case. And also that the evidence at trial showed there was a years-long pattern of abuse and violence. But Despite the judge denying Combs' release once again, and given that his sentencing has officially been confirmed for October 3rd, that was agreed by both the defense and the prosecution yesterday, could he get out beforehand? It's an interesting question. Let me bring in right now a special guest. I am joined by one of the most renowned bail bondsmen, probably in the country.
So the bail bondsman is going to give a breakdown of how he is. He's the one that's actually assisting, that I caught. He's the one that's actually assisting in regards to writing up and helping with the documents, or he's helped with documents, so he understands the documents. When I listened to this the other day, I could have swore he's the one that they're looking to in regards to writing the proposals up. So let's listen to what he has to say in regards to a bail bondsman is such an important part of getting someone released. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It. Media 21.
Fully in New York. Ira Gittleson. Ira, thank you so much for coming here on Sidebar. Pleasure to meet you.
You too, Jess. Pleasure myself.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do. Talk about what you do. I think
on the federal level,
completely understands the process and your role in it.
You know, it's funny. Not a lot of people understand the world of bail. They think that a bondsman just raises his hand and you know, that's where it ends. With me, it starts with the people that you meet, the lawyers, the judges, the DAs, hearing about a bail, putting it together, which could take days, weeks, as in this case that we're talking about right now, Puffy. I started on this case going back almost 7 months ago when they brought me in as a consultant, because federal bail and state bail are two different things. State bail was what most of the bails that I write. Federal bail, they don't need.
So he was brought in as a consultant. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
The bondsman. They do go through pretrial services, but a lot of times major attorneys will bring me in to consult because they'll be denied, and they'll say, hey, what do we do? So in this case, with Puffy, I got brought in, and we talked about possibly renting out his plane and keeping it in Honolulu. We talked about surrendering his passport, his family's passports. We talked about putting up his house. We talked about private security 24/7. We talked about a call log sheet to see who's going to call him, also who's going to come see him, who's going to come in, who's going to come out, letting the government see what they have. So if anybody walks in to see him, they know exactly who's coming to see him. So a bondsman basically puts it together. In a lot of words, I'm a legal loan shark. I lend money to people that are in trouble to get them out of jail, and they pay me a fee.
Now, as we're talking about this, I don't know. I think the law is fascinating, all aspects of it, civil, criminal. And I would imagine that you probably feel the same way coming to check out Law and Crime Sidebar. But when you think about experts in the law, experts in litigation, let me tell you real quick about our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan.
Hold on.
America's legal team. It can all be done.
Fair use reaction clip. Like the videos, you guys come in. Like the videos, you guys come in. Just giving you information on what the bail bondsman is saying and if he gave them legit advice, because many of us were asking, how is that written? Why are you saying this? Who can come in? Who's going to be on the log? So now we kind of understand if he gave advice. That's why we were asking the questions that we were asking. Where's the plane going to be at? So continue to hit the like button, please. Continue to subscribe. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Up to the phone. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com.
Okay, let's continue.
1, 2, and 4.
Hold on, fair use reaction clip. Hold on. Let's continue. This is just great information. I always try and bring y'all great content in regards to what's being talked about.
Looking at possibly 25 years, or more, depending on what the guidelines were based on if he was convicted. So at 55 years old, at that time, it's almost a life sentence. So, and he has a lot of wealth and he had a private plane. So the judge was looking at that. Plus, in the federal system, they look at danger to the community. Where in the state system, they're not allowed to look at that. They look at risk of flight. So I think with all the letters behind that were coming in that we were not really privy to from a lot of the alleged victims, I think the judge made a decision that, hey, this is not going to be sufficient enough. I thought that at the end, he kind of, when we brought in our private security team and we showed him who was going to be doing it, we did Sam Bankman-Fried. So we knew that, we would be completely covered on that end. And we gave him the idea of there would be no Wi-Fi in the building that we were looking at and that he would not be able to really be able to connect with anybody but his legal team and his family. We thought at that point that maybe we had a chance. But at the end, the judge denied it. And that's where we stood. Now, on this case coming forward, after the convictions, after he wasn't convicted, at the end, we didn't know what he was going to do. So, when Mark reached out to me afterwards, we started thinking about putting another bail package together.
And what is that bail package and by the way, is this a bail package that you think could be submitted again, even after the judge just denied bail?
Like the video. Please subscribe to the page, and thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Continue to hit the like, you guys. I only have 2 likes. Let's get the likes up. This is just a quick afternoon live. Thank you.
Well, The judge denied bail based on the statute, and the statute stated a certain amount of information that part of the Mann Act that was not eligible for bail. There are certain circumstances that can be done. We're going to regroup again. I know that they were going to go talk to Mr. Combs again and see what happens there. They have the October 3rd date. And I don't know where he stood. As of the other day, he wanted to get out. I don't think anybody wants to be at MDC where he is. So we're going to reconvene and see what happens, at a later date. We could go back with another package.
Would it require him to stay in New York? Would it be him to be? I know he wanted to go back to his property in Miami, Florida. And there's also an interesting question I think that his defense put forward. He just got his life back. That's what they said. He wasn't convicted of the top charges. He was convicted of transportation to engage in prostitution, but he would be a fool to try to violate any of those conditions when potentially he may get a rather lenient sentence compared to what he was facing. So 2 questions there. Do you think that it would require him to be in New York as opposed to Florida? And do you think that he'd really be in a position to violate the conditions?
First question is, I can't determine what a judge is thinking. I don't think, and this is my opinion, that the judge would let him out of the jurisdiction. I don't know. We can do private security down in Miami. We could also do private security in California, as we did with Sam Bankman-Fried. I would probably think that if the judge would think about possibly a package, that he would want us to keep him here. When we first put the first package together, going a few months back, we did have an apartment here in the city that I did scout out and located a brownstone in New York that was sufficient enough, which we thought, which was 1 entrance in, 1 entrance out, for our security to be there, and no rooftop, couldn't get out from any of the windows. So we could always go back and see if that's still available. I don't know if it is or not. So I can't determine what a judge is going to think. I don't think he would let that happen if he decided to make bail, but you never know. This judge was very fair to both sides in the trial. And as far as would he want to screw up what he, after being, the convictions not coming through, I think you got to be dumb to do something like that. He is going to possibly get his life back. I don't know what's going to happen in the music world. I don't know what's going to happen in his regular life, but he's not facing the time that he was facing before that.
And I'm going to talk about sentencing a little bit later on. The private security, right, that would monitor him 24/7. The argument could be, and this is something the prosecution's put forward, how can we trust that he's not just they're not bought and paid for, they're not really going to watch him? If he's hiring them, there's a conflict of interest there. What's your response to that?
My team is ex-law enforcement.
Because remember, many people asked that. Many people were questioning that. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Enforcement, all gentlemen that have been involved either in the Marshal Service, FBI, police, even some CIA. So again, my people would not risk their lives on something or risk their reputation or even possibly a criminal charge on something like this. So my guys are vetted. They've been doing this a very long time. So they wouldn't jeopardize anything like that. Now, when we first talked about private security, Puffy wanted some of his people. We denied that right away. It's our guys. It's my reputation on the line here. And that's when I went to court and Tony Rico and Mark Ignifilo both stood up and said, hey, Mr. Jellison is, his reputation's on the line here. He's been doing this a long time. I've bailed out Harvey Weinstein, Conor McGregor, Plaxico Burress, Cat Williams, Lawrence Taylor. So
see how you name drop him? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
I'm not going to put my reputation or my license in jeopardy, for X amount of money. To me, I'm going on. I might want to turn this business over to my son one day.
Yeah, the New York Times did a profile on you called Bailing Out the Stars. How are celebrities different? How are they different from other criminal defendants?
More demanding. When you get the phone call from the lawyer or whoever, a publicist, anybody, it could happen in the middle of the night. A celebrity does not want to spend an extra minute incarcerated. And things change so drastically with, when I did Conor McGregor, he surrendered, he wanted out right away. Plaxico Burress, when that happened, we were talking and Mayor Bloomberg was involved allegedly in the situation, and Plaxico's bail went from X to X to X. And then I'm on the phone with his agent saying, hey, I need you to send me a copy of his deed for his place in New Jersey. And then with Dominic Strauss-Kahn, obviously the world basically came to a standstill because he was the IMF, president, and nobody knew if he was on his way going back to Greece to lend him X amount of money to get him out of trouble. Yet we had to find him an apartment in the city. We had to get him private security. I was dealing with his ex-wife now, coming in and giving me what I need to put a $5 million bail together. So, they're a little more demanding, and everybody's looking to me to make that, make it happen. The lawyer could get the bail, but at the end of the day, it's Ira Jellison that's running in, putting everything together, and the pressure. And I work in chaos all day long. That's my life.
So, when it comes to chaos, that's my specialty.
You handle it well, though. You handle it quite well, given the chaos.
I have to.
Yeah.
If as I said before, if I want to, have a nice home, I want my kids to go to college, I want things to happen. You got to do these things, and people rely on you.
Absolutely, and I think there's something to be said here, and it's important that you said it. Your reputation's on the line. So the idea of when we say, nebulous, how can we trust a private security team? I'm happy you clarified that. I want to get really practical here, realistically. Sean Combs is released on bail. Okay, let's say he's released. He's home confinement. What exactly is he allowed to do and not to do? Is he really there's someone's going to be watching him 24/7? They're going to make sure he has no iPad, no iPhone. Can he give directions to people like associates or other people that are involved? I mean, the concern, of course, is that even if he's out and he's around people, he can still shake things up a little bit. He can still get messages out. I guess the question is, what does it realistically look like for him? Does he sit in a room? Does he only confined to certain rooms day in and day out? Is he constantly watched on tape and all of his electronic devices are searched on him constantly? I mean, what does it look like?
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Please like the video as you guys come in. Please like the video as you guys come in. And please subscribe. We're almost at 40K, you guys. We're almost at 40K. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. I appreciate you guys. Let me say this too. Some of the streams, some of the viewership on YouTube is very interesting because it seems like everybody's viewership is slowing down. I don't know why. But like my shorts, not getting a lot of views, which is interesting. My lives, yesterday I did about 15 minutes. It almost did 1,000, which I'm almost getting normally 12K. So I had to go live because I don't want to mess up my algorithm. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. So please continue to hit the like button, you guys, to keep me in the algorithm. Lets everyone know we're live. And like I said, we're trying to hit 40K. Thanks for being here. Yeah, the live streams. Everybody's numbers seem odd for the last 2 days. It's not just me. Everyone's numbers seem extremely low for the last 2 days. I noticed everything. My friend already told me that. I noticed everything. I see everything. So yeah, I had to go live because I don't want to be kicked out of the algorithm.
Searched on him constantly. I mean, what does it look like? And they're going to make sure he has no iPad, no iPhone. Can he give directions to people like associates or other people that are involved? I mean, the concern, of course, is that even if he's out and he's around people, he can still shake things up a little bit. He can still get messages out. I guess the question is, what does it realistically look like for him? Does he sit in a room? Does he only confined to certain rooms day in and day out? Is he constantly watched on tape and all of his electronic devices are searched on him constantly? I mean, what does it look like?
Well, again, it's really up to the restrictions of the court.
Sure.
I mean, I have people out right now that are on ankle bracelets, and they can't go 400 feet. They can go 800 feet. They can go wherever depending on what the restrictions are. In Puffy's case, the way we were putting it to the judge and to the Southern District was we were going to have a call log. So you could see who his calls were going to. We were going to try to take away his Wi-Fi in the building, which would have been a lot easy. We would have limited the people that would come see him. So at the end of the day, we had cameras inside the apartment that we were going to do, which our people were going to put up. And we were going to all let the government be able to get into that system to see who was coming in and out. Of course, there's privacy. So, we were going to make it that are incarcerated. And when people come to see you, if you want to pass a messages can get passed. We know that. So if he really wanted to do something incarcerated, he might be able to. If he really wanted to do something when he was out, he might be able to. I don't think that he would take a chance on something like that to risk what he's gone through over the last year. Again, opinion on my end, based on being 30 years in the industry, you just got possibly your life back. You were facing 30 years incarcerated possibly, and now you're going to take a chance on something like that. But again, no, I'm not in someone's brain. I can't determine how people think. There's a lot of people that feel they're above the law. So I don't know how Puffy thinks. But, my guys would be watching and monitoring him and reporting back. And again, my reputation is very important because I'm going to go on and on and on in this industry. And I want judges, DAs, Southern District, Eastern District to be able to say, okay, we're going to worry about our case now. We're going to let Mr. Judelson handle what he does best. He's the expert. He's going to do it. Well, let us go do what we have to do. And we know that everything's going to, we're going to get the defendant to court. He's going to do the right thing.
If you're just not coming in, we're listening into one of the bail bondsmen. They got information from, advice from, consulting information from. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Thanks for tuning into Let's Talk About It Media 21. Please subscribe. We're trying to hit 40K. And thank you.
Before I let you go, do you feel that there is a strong possibility that he could be released before his sentencing on October 3rd, so sometime between now and then?
Is there a strong possibility? I would say at this point, no. I don't know if we're, when I say the team, I'm on the outskirts of the team on the bail end. If it's in his best decision to get out before October 3rd, you're talking about maybe 3 months. There's a chance, that he could be sentenced to time served. Based under the law, he can be. He'd be incarcerated for over a year at that time. He could get a year and a day. There's a chance that the judge could hit him on a high end. I don't know. And knowing Mr. Combs and, the way he thinks, I don't think anybody wants to be incarcerated. You feel like I just won. I just won my freedom back. Why can't I go to an apartment in New York and eat, Chick-fil-A or have a steak brought in? I've been eating X amount of food inside. I've been showering with, X amount of people. Why can't I have my own shower, my own bed? But again, it all determines on whether or not a judge, can do it. And whether or not, this package that we're going to put together, if we put it together back again, is sufficient enough to him feel comfortable. He might say, look, I'd rather you just stay till October 3rd, and this is what I'm going to do. But again, I can't determine what a judge thinks. I know the team has taught, we have gone back and forth. I've talked to we've gone back and forth. But again, it's all,
So the consultant has definitely tried to get him out. He's been consulting. He's let him know, the security team, because remember, you guys, we had heard that there's a security team that's going to be hired to assist the ins and outs. And like he said, he was not going to put his company on, at risk, because remember, Diddy wanted to bring some of his own guys in. He's like, I can't do that. But maybe that could have been an issue too. It's like, if we have a company that's trying to help you get out, but then you're trying to bring your own guys in, who's to say your own guys won't keep them distracted or do something? You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful. They should have just let the private company come in and possibly, surveillance him and the way that they've surveillanced him, especially if this private company has done well and it showed in the court records that they've done well, but then you want to bring your own people in, that could mess up the sauce and the spaghetti. It can mess it up. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Yes, the sauce and spaghetti. Bring your own people. And like he said, I don't have nothing to do with those other people. I have my own team. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Mr. Combs is actually, he's the person that's, paying for the attorneys. It's up to really him what he really wants to do.
Ira Judelson, thank you so much for coming on and breaking it down for us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate it, Jess.
So that was good.
As we're talking about what to expect next in Diddy's life, I also got a chance to sit down with former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Matt Murphy about Diddy's potential sentence. So with no mandatory minimum with the Mann Act violations and up to 10 years in prison on each of the two charges, a lot of room here, a lot of discretion for the judge.
Okay, so we're about to play this because I want to hear what he has to say in regards to time served.
So the judge could sentence him higher or lower. So now what is he looking at? So if you look at the guidelines...
Fair use reaction clip.
I believe that the government is of the opinion. Well, there's a couple of different ways you can go about this. Under a certain provision of the guidelines, he could be a level 14. If he's a level 14 with 0 or 1 criminal history point, then he's a 15 to 21 months. If you add coercion onto that, which the jury sort of rejected, it seems
Get the likes up, you guys.
then
Get the likes up.
27 to 33 months.
The likes should match the
However,
views.
if you go with the other part of this, the guidelines, and this is what the government is doing, it's 51 to 63 months. And that's the number that I think you guys should look at, because the government is telling the court that he is looking at 51 to 63 months. So he's looking at significant prison time, and we should keep him in prison. Okay, and the judge did that. Let me just tell you what the judge said.
Okay, get the likes up, you guys. I want to continue too, but you gotta get the likes up. The likes should match the views. There's about 180 in the building. Can I please get 100 people to subscribe? And please get the likes up to 100. Please get the likes to 100. Yes, my page goes fast, but it affects me because I don't get the likes where I need to get the likes. So if you're watching from a phone, which from my analytics, most people are from a phone or a tablet, let's get the likes up. to 100. Just double tap the screen. To hit the like is free. Super chats are welcome. Let's continue fair use reaction clip.
In prison time, and we should keep him in prison. Okay, and the judge did that. Let me just tell you what the judge said. Even if the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community, he could not meet that burden. Prior to trial, the court denied bail and sees no reason to reverse that now. The defense conceded the defendant's violence. Well, they did that and they won the day, but they lost this little tiny battle. So, and here's the thing. He gets credit for the time that he's doing now anyway. So let's just calculate. Let's say he gets middle of the guideline range. Let's say he gets 58 months. So you take 58 months times 0.85, and that equals 49 months minus 10 months, 39 months, a little over 39 months. That's likely about the amount of time. And then if he does a drug and alcohol program, it's called the DAP program. If he qualifies, it might be a crime of violence. No, it's not. It's a Mann Act. So you minus 12 off of that, and now you're looking at basically 2 years. But he still has to do 2 years. And he's going to go to prison. He is going to prison. Now, what could the judge do differently than this? The judge could
allegedly
say, this is ridiculous. Your conduct, Mr. Combs, is so above and beyond the pale that a message needs to be sent to everyone watching this trial. Although you're not supposed to really take into account public sentiment when you sentence. But the judge can take into account acquitted conduct. Doesn't seem fair, does it? I mean, wait a second. I was acquitted of that shit over there. Now you're going to hold it against me over here?
Yep.
The guidelines are advisory. And unless the judge is so off the wall, he can make his determination as to what the guideline factors are. He's not bound by what probation says or what the defense or the government's arguments are. So the judge could sentence him higher or lower. So now what is he looking at?
Okay, so everyone does not know. It's up to the judge's discretion. And then you have to realize the judge recently asked for a case study of different cases similar to Diddy. So he's trying to get a guideline of what he really should do. So I know everyone's just now coming in. I'll play it again. And then I'm going to play what sidebar feels that people are talking about of what he could possibly get. No one knows.
Higher or lower. So now what is he looking at? So if you look at the guidelines, I believe that the government is of the opinion. Well, there's a couple of different ways you can go about this. Under a certain provision of the guidelines, he could be a level 14. If he's a level 14 with 0 or 1 criminal history point, then he's a 15 to 21 months. If you add coercion onto that, which the jury sort of rejected, it seems like, then it's 27 to 33 months. However, if you go with the other part of this, the guidelines, and this is what the government is doing, it's 51 to 63 months. And that's the number that I think you guys should look at, because the government is telling the court that he is looking at 51 to 63 months. So he's looking at significant prison time, and we should keep him in prison. Okay, and the judge did that. Let me just tell you what the judge said. Even if the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community, he could not meet that burden. Prior to trial, the court denied bail and sees no reason to reverse that now. The defense conceded the defendant's violence. Well, they did that and they won the day, but they lost this little tiny battle. So, and here's the thing. He gets credit for the time that he's doing now anyway. So let's just calculate. Let's say he gets middle of the guideline range. Let's say he gets 58 months. So you take 58 months times 0.85, and that equals 49 months minus 10 months, 39 months, a little over 39 months. That's likely about the amount of time. And then if he does a drug and alcohol program, it's called the DAP program. If he qualifies, it might be a crime of violence. No, it's not. It's a Mann Act. So you minus 12 off of that, and now you're looking at basically 2 years. But he still has to do 2 years, and he's going to go to prison. He is going to prison. Now, what could the judge do differently than this? The judge could say, this is ridiculous. Your conduct, Mr. Combs, is so above and beyond the pale that a message needs to be sent to everyone watching this trial. Although you're not supposed to really take into account public sentiment when you sentence, but the judge can take into account acquitted conduct. Doesn't seem fair, does it? I mean, wait a second. I was acquitted of that shit over there. Now you're going to hold it against me over here? The guidelines are advisory. And unless the judge is so off the wall, he can make his determination as to what the guideline factors are. He's not bound by what probation says or what the defense or the government's arguments are. So the judge could sentence him higher or lower. So now what is he looking at? So if you look at the guidelines...
Okay, so there's that. So now let's listen to Sidebar. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Can you please subscribe? We're almost at 40K. If all 200 people subscribe, we will hit 40K today. If all 200 people subscribe, we will hit 40K today. Please subscribe and thank you. Let's get the likes up, you guys. We're at 21 likes and there's how many people in here? Almost 162. Let's get the likes to 100, please, so we can continue. Let's get the likes to 100, please, so we can continue. I don't ask for much. I don't ask for super chats that often. I may say it once or twice a month, 3 times a month, 5 times a month, whatever. But I don't say too much about super chats. If you guys want to send a super chat, thank you. If you want to do the memberships, thank you. But we're almost at 40K. If all 100 and something subscribe, we will be at 40K. So thank you. Please subscribe. Okay, so let's get to law crimes because he's going to finalize what he has to say in regards to the time, possibly. So that's what he seemed like he was doing. This is my page. Maybe you don't know. This is my page. My page went from 3 to 4K to almost 40K. We get millions of views every month. Sometimes people just come over here just to listen. But y'all got to do your part too. So go on to your page. Maybe what your page has, 1,000, 2,000, whatever. I'm going to do what I want to do on my page. People are subscribing. We've seen that. Every week we get hundreds of people to subscribe. 8-9 months ago, we were having 1,500 people subscribe, 2,000 people subscribe. So my page is a little different. You don't ask, people won't do. So go on over to your page. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. I want to hit 40K. I've worked really hard from 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers to 40K. Real talk.
I'd have to say.
So in federal court, this is actually very interesting. They rely very heavily on those pre-sentencing investigations. So essentially what will happen is there'll be a federal probation officer, and they do these for almost every case, where they will do their own investigation, where they'll talk to family members, they'll talk to employers, they'll talk to neighbors, and they will make a recommendation to the court as to suitability for release, suitability for time, and that's something that federal judges traditionally really adhere to. They tend to put a lot of weight on those, far more than they do in state court. The probation department can make a recommendation, but the DA will certainly have more ability most of the time to talk a judge in or out of a sentencing recommendation from the probation department. Federal court is different. They really put a lot of weight on those. So that's something that I think is going to be very interesting. And a lot of that will come down to what the individuals involved in that investigation, even though it shouldn't impact their professional recommendation. It's really, I think we're going to see what they thought of the case. You know, did they think he got away with something horrific here? Did they think that he was getting railroaded from the beginning? I think that may reflect in the recommendation to the court. But of course, we don't know what that is yet. I don't know. If I'm his defense lawyer, I don't know if I am pressing the gas on that, trying to make this thing go faster. I mean, it's coming up soon enough anyway. I would want to give them the time and not press them, because you don't want a probation officer or anybody in the federal system to feel like they're being rushed.
Right.
Because I think it's very easy to just go, okay, screw it, the guy should stay in.
The prosecution made the point yesterday. They said the point, like, we're not ready to give a really sentencing recommendation. We haven't got the report. There's people say, well, maybe he'll get time served, right? He's been locked up. There's other people say, no, the judge is going to throw the book at him. Even though the judge said yesterday, even though I'm denying him bail and I'm looking at certain conditions, this is not reflective.
Yeah, great channel, great information. And a lot of times I have to listen to information so I can give it to y'all, so I understand what's going on. But the other thing, the reason why I talk in between, I have to. Plus, I don't want people taking my work and putting it on their channel and not giving me credit or giving Law Crimes credit. There are people and channels that are extremely lazy. I get a lot of shares. A lot of people are sharing my stuff, and it may just be for informational purposes, but I don't want nobody saying, hey, I don't have to do anything. But since I talk in between, that's not their voice, that's mine. That's for my channel. So I appreciate y'all. Law Crimes has helped a great deal. They break everything down. Great channel. We listen to ABC, NBC. I don't really do CNN, but I prefer to get my information from the news. So a lot of times I have to listen throughout the day what people are talking about so I can bring it to y'all. So continue to subscribe. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Or a preview of what my sentencing recommendation, or what my sentence will be.
Because my channel, I don't want to give out false information like other people are. And y'all can put it in the chat. There's a lot of people that's doing clickbait, giving out false information. That's not what we do over here. We have integrity, and we tell y'all we're listening to the news, and we let who's telling you in regards to who the news is coming from. So we'll tell you that it's Law Crimes. We'll tell you that it's CBS. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. We don't do the clickbait, and we're not doing false information over here. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
But, you know, are we looking at double digits? Are we looking, you think, at 1 to 5 years, time served? I know it's so impossible to ask, but it is a very specific charges he was convicted of.
Yeah, we're not looking at double digits.
Okay.
I cannot imagine the court imposing that. And remember, because this law is so old,
and many people have said that.
Age of Uber. So literally, somebody in New York City, a man or a woman who engages the services of a sex worker who lives in New Jersey, and if they pay for their Uber, that technically is a Mann Act violation. Okay, so it's a morality crime, and that it just does not carry the same weight.
Will the judge say, hey, listen, multiple instances he was doing it, not one Uber, he was doing it multiple times. You have 2 alleged victims here, Cassie, Jane, and violence, right? He used violence as one of the...
And he dated other women outside of Cassie and Jane as well. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Reasons to deny him bail. I wonder if he's going to look at, even though he was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking, different characteristics and components of his relationships with Jane and Cassie and say, this is aggravated.
It's a very interesting question. Can the court aggravate nonviolent offenses that he was convicted of, which are the Mann Act violations? Can he aggravate those when he was acquitted of the more serious charges, essentially acquitted of everything that involved violence, threats, all of that sort of thing? So It's a very, very interesting legal question.
By the way, great interview with Matt. We also talked about what...
So that was great. I appreciate the content. I appreciate the proper information. I appreciate them doing the research. I have to listen to different pages to get the information y'all need. So we're sending out proper information about this case. If you did not know, the sentencing will possibly be in October. They did try to rush that, and then allegedly that October date may stick. Allegedly, the judge is asking for different case laws from different other court cases. So there's that. I just wanted to go live briefly. Stay within the algorithm. It's important. I have a busy day today. I appreciate y'all. And people are wondering, will it be time served? Many are saying, because people ask me, will it be time served? Would it be less than 5 years? And then you have to remember the alleged 2 charges could hold up to 10 each. We don't know if the judge is going to do combined of 10 years, 10 years separate, and then another 10 years. You got to realize there's other people that's gone to jail prior to him. So it's up to the judge's discretion. And at least he is asking the attorneys for case law. And he doesn't want them to debate that law. He just wants them, the lawyers, to send case law of what other cases similar to Diddy's, no priors. He just wants to make sure he sentenced him properly, which is good. People have said the judge tried to be fair. People have said that. He's definitely tried to be fair. He's a newer, he's not a new judge. He's been in this field for a while, but he's not a seasoned judge where he's been on that bench over 30 years, maybe less than 15. So there's that. But we'll see what happens in October. I just wanted to do a quick live. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Please hit subscribe, you guys. We have 93 people in the building. Please double tap that screen and thank you. Please double tap that screen and thank you. And if I can get those 93 people to please subscribe, we're almost at 40K, you guys. We're going to hit it this week. I've been so busy, but I had to make up this time. I only went live yesterday about 15 minutes. As soon as I get off, I'm about to leave. And, yep. So I appreciate you guys. So, copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. You guys, focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. I thank goodness I've been saying that for almost a year now. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Yeah, it's let me see what you were saying. It's crazy one. Yeah, many people have talked about being outside the courthouse. There's a lot of great content creators that covered the trial outside. Then they, of course, would go back to their hotel rooms or Airbnbs. Many people are talking about what happened outside. Many people are talking about the line. There was a lady that really did a great job trying to maintain where people were standing in line. Once you were in the one line, then you get into the courthouse, then you'd have to unpack everything, and then people would try and rush in. Maybe you were number 5, but you're trying to unpack and put things away. Then you could be almost number 11. So there was a person that tried to maintain and keep people's spots if they were in that spot. Some people paid for line sitters. So say, for instance, it's Friday. Somebody may have paid, let's do Thursday. Somebody paid for a line sitter to sit out there Thursday after court let out around 3, 4, or 5. That person sat out there Thursday for people to be into the line Friday morning. So people were paying for line sitters. The other concern was, you guys, say for instance, you paid for that line sitter that Thursday, right? This is what's being alleged. You paid for that line sitter for that Thursday. And then people are saying, okay, all 3 of us paid for that line sitter to hold that spot. And people were like, no. You would need to have 3 line sitters to pay for that spot. There's 3 of y'all. There need to be 3 different line sitters sitting here. And then allegedly people were saying that line sitter, some of them, not all of them, so take it with a grain of salt. So say, for instance, the line sitter was Blue. His name was Mr. Blue. And then the line sitter was Mr. Tan. Mr. Tan couldn't have been a line sitter anyway because he was allegedly removed from the courthouse. So if you hired Mr. Tan to be your line sitter, he couldn't get into the courts anyway. So that was allegedly an issue. Safety stuff was an issue. People were just conversating. We didn't hear of anybody having, I don't want to say that. There were some concerns, but people are falsifying what some of the concerns were. We're seeing the video and they're saying stuff outside that video happened and it didn't. We see the recordings of what happened. And then other people are catching attitude about the line. These people were in line for 5 weeks. And then somebody that just finally comes to be at the trial caused drama. They're trying to change what's happening in regards to the line. So some people really went to boost their channels. Some people's channels did get boosted. Some people are causing drama and conflict because that's what they do. Focus on healthy, safe relationships, y'all. There are a lot of people that had great connections, and that's what we're focusing on. Great connections, their channels are thriving, and they're doing good. And they're giving out proper information. They're not doing clickbait. They're not talking about word on the curb is, I'm hearing, my sources are saying, look here, if you don't have no receipt, keep it quiet. If you don't have the documentation to back you up, keep it quiet. Some people are looking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now. Real talk. And it's sad. It's sad how certain people are going out. Certain people are going out bad. Certain people are going out bad. Yeah, and some people, would sit out there. I was outside with the YouTubers waiting for the family to. Yeah, people were sitting outside waiting for the families to come out. There's a lot of great content that's out there, but a lot of people are causing a lot of drama, conflict, and putting out false information, and it's so concerning. And then the thing is, you have pages that's calling them out, and we get it. They're getting called out because you need to stop lying. You need to stop lying. If other people are reporting XYZ, you want to talk about ABC. You know, why are you doing ABC when everybody else is talking about XYZ? And it's they're right to speak, but if you be, I'd rather be open and honest to be called a liar. I'd rather be open and honest than be called a liar. And then, you know, people were talking about general stuff that happened, but then when they get called out, they want to play the victim. Stop playing. You were doing good, but then when you try to make it about yourself, you're trying to falsify stuff, you're trying to play the victim. People have lost a lot of respect for people. Real talk. People have lost a lot of respect for people, and it's sad. Just keep doing the job. Just keep doing the job. You were doing well. But to be constantly called out liar and giving out false information and doing the clickbait, it's sad. They're going out bad. And let me tell you something, baby. If I give truthful information and they see I gave truthful information, oh, they are on 10. That's not true. Oh, baby, my page, baby, is watched. It's been watched for 2 years. And I don't watch their content. I could just see the clickbait in regards to the title. I stopped watching them years ago. I watched lawyers. I listen to lawyers and content creators that's open and honest and that give great content. That's who I listen to. I don't listen to the clickbait, because over here, we debunk clickbait. So they probably don't like my page no more. We're going to debunk your clickbait. Real talk. And a lot of us get information from Neighborhood Talk, Shade Room, Hollywood Unlock. And then if you look up local news, that's where they're getting the news from. Oh, you guys, I got the exclusive. No, you got that from Neighborhood Talk. Oh, nobody's talking about this. Yes, the Shade Room is talking about it. So is Neighborhood Talk. Stop lying. And if any page you're listening to is basically saying, I'm the only one that's got this exclusive, you go ahead, you can look up Google and you'll see that information is right there. Google's talking about it. That means the news is talking about it, and so is social media pages. Because you got to realize there's a lot of social media pages out there. There's a lot of YouTube pages out there. Smaller YouTube pages could be talking about it, but you're acting like you got the exclusive. No, baby, it's out there on Google. So it's out there. So Shade Room or Neighborhood Talk or Jasmine Brand could be putting it together. So be careful of who's saying, I'm the only one that's got the exclusive. Word on the curb is, and just clickbait titles. And if they don't have receipts, say, show me the receipt in their comment. See how they feel about that. My page, we get information from the news, but I literally have to sit and listen. And I try and listen to 3 different sources. Law pages, great content creators, and people that's not doing clickbait. I can't do the clickbait. We debunk clickbait over here. So well wishes to them. I hope they get it together. Like before, I've said, whenever I would do a story and that story was trending, they'd be like, okay, let me take that real quick. If you're getting, 10K on that, I probably can get 20 or 30 or 40K. And then I would release that topic and move on. That would happen to me so much about 2 years ago. That was happening to me. So now I'm in a bigger field, and see, I realize certain people, they'll reiterate certain people, and I don't do that. So now I cover a broader subjects. So now they don't really want to do that. They may cover 5 different subjects and maybe something that's trending. But if I used to do 8 to 9 videos a day. I used to do that. Now it's maybe 1 or 2. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. So the clickbait, don't listen to that foolishness, and tell them, show me receipts. They gonna block you. Show me where you got that from. What news media did you get that from? They gonna block you. A lot of these content creators did an amazing job at the trial. Go over to their pages, subscribe to their pages, be kind in their comments. Focus on the content creators that's doing amazing work. A lot of their careers have boosted in a great way, and that's a positive part of it. So anyone that went out there, so kudos to you for traveling, for standing in line, for making those connections, you know, for sitting in that courtroom for days. And maybe some people, you know, after sitting in that courtroom, maybe that's why they, you know, doing what they doing. I don't know. But there's a lot of great content creators went day in, day out, standing in that line, sitting in the courtroom, sitting in the overflow room, and having to hear what was going on with this situation. So I appreciate you guys. I have to get out of here. I appreciate you guys. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Go over to your favorite content creator. Make sure, and mine, make sure the subscribe button is hit. Make sure you turn on your notifications, and make sure you continue to hit the like. And thank you guys. Thank you. Be blessed. Have a great day. Goodbye.